Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole and it's by user DoConstruction7435. Would I be the a-hole if I tell HR about my past with a new coworker? I, 34 male, am a lead developer on a team of mid-sized software-as-a-service company that has around 100 or so employees. Basically, we are large enough that there are employees we can see, recognize, but not necessarily know their names. Recently, we had a new hire, Krista, 33 female, who joined the project management part of the project I am working on. I have a history with Krista from college. In college, I was a lot more in my own shell. I didn't really treat myself well and was very much the introverted nerd, down to bad posture and poor fashion sense. About Krista, she did have quite a few friends in college, but at least in my view, she wasn't super popular, but she was well liked and was conventionally attractive. We shared a few classes together and one day she asked me for some help on an assignment. I helped her on it and we talked, and from the sounds of things, she seemed genuinely friendly to me. I helped her on a few more assignments and finally she asked me if I wanted to meet her after class at a coffee shop and talk. I said sure, and when I got there, Krista was nowhere in sight. I waited for about 20 minutes before I called her. She answered and started laughing, and I heard several other voices laughing, and Krista was saying something like, "Why would I want a date with a fat loser like you?" That's when I looked out the front window of the shop and saw one of Krista's friends holding up her camera phone, and it looked like she was recording. The next few weeks, there were jokes about me, flyers with my face from the coffee shop video plastered up with "creep" in bold letters on top. I kept my head down, and within a month, the next big thing popped up on campus and I was forgotten. It didn't stop Krista and her friends from going, "Ew, creep," when they saw me, but I guess for the rest of the campus, it got old. So I never got accused of anything or even really ostracized by the rest of the student body. After college, I did learn about self-care a bit better. Plus, I usually am with other programmers, so I really don't stand out as a social outcast. When Krista was introduced to our team, I don't think she recognized me, and it's only been a week. But I want to know if bringing up the college incident is even worth it for HR. Most of my rational brain really wants to just let this go, treat Krista as a new person, and get on with my life. My problem is that I have a small fear that she might tell a skewed version of the college events and sour the team I'm on against me. So I should at least disclose to HR so in case she does start telling tales, I have recourse. Reddit, would I be the a-hole if I told HR about my past with Krista? No, OP, I don't think you would be the a-hole. I think telling HR is the smart thing to do. Sure, there could be an argument made about, oh, people changing, it's not the same, maybe you should talk to her first and all that stuff. But honestly, I think this does concern the company because it could create a bad work environment for either of you. So I think HR deserves to know that there was this thing that happened between two people on the same team. And then HR needs to decide what to do. And just in the case that Krista does start talking about what happened in college, well, as you say, you have recourse. So again, no OP, you would not be the a-hole, it would be the smart thing to do. Maybe you want to write down your version of the events and take that letter to your meeting with HR. You know, just to have everything organized and in a proper timeline. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? How would you go about it? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Two Bionic Knees says, "Bruh, she made false allegations around campus about you being a creep because she asked you on a date and stood you up as a prank. She's a scumbag. What if she goes to HR and tells them you were a creep in college, came on to her and tries to go after your job by getting you fired? Go to HR, report it, and get ahead on it. If she says something, a response will always be seen as defensive and potentially lying. If they have it on the record that she has a history of bullying and labeling people as creeps, when she tries it again, they'll have serious trouble believing her and be keeping an eye on it." They might also make someone else her direct supervisor or take other routes, so you'll be in fewer situations she could lie about. Say you don't want to be involved in any decisions about wages, firing, hiring, promotions, or being her direct supervisor. Bad Wolf 7426 says, I think you should practice what you plan on saying to HR until you almost sound bored, relaying the facts as dispassionately as possible. Quote, I recently met a new hire and I know her from college. She started and spread several rumors about me, then harassed me for X number of years, enlisting the help of a few of her friends. I wanted to request that we not be partnered on any projects going forward. Not that I harbor any resentment, but I want to protect my good name. Someone more eloquent and better versed in businessese language could probably put it together better, but that's the gist of it. Good luck and update us, please. And Ambient Walrus 1 says, if you take this to HR, proceed carefully and with caution. The world of HR, I've lived in it, is strange and people are scared of litigation. Your instinct to let it go is best. Hold your head high, excel at work, and treat Krista with professionalism. Her horrendous treatment of you years prior is not grounds for getting her fired or even moved off the project. She sounds despicably cruel, but until she does something at work or violates a work policy, there is not much HR can do. If she starts being awful to you, document it and talk to her supervisor. If she breaks company policy or the law, such as harassing you, disparaging you, etc., that's when you go to HR and file a complaint. Hopefully, her tenure will be short-lived, but don't let her presence impact you one iota. She's not worth it, and you are. Alright, well, the community is mostly on the side of you should talk to HR about this, and there were some people telling OP to just take the high ground and, I don't know, hope she doesn't do anything. And if she does, that's when you defend yourself. Now, as I said in my commentary, I think OP should try to get ahead of this thing, so I absolutely disagree with that last comment. In any case, OP did not reply to any comments or give us an edit with additional context, which means we move on straight to the update to see how this story ends. Yesterday, some things happened. Some bad, mostly good. There were mixed responses, most telling me to tell, but one HR professional saying I shouldn't. Due to the mixed messaging, I did consult a local employment lawyer. The lawyer told me that I should make HR aware of the past I have with Krista, but make it clear that there was never any disciplinary actions taken upon me in college. He asked if my job had a copy of my transcript, and I verified that it did. The lawyer asked if there were any third parties that would verify the harassment and see if I could get their names and contact details if needed. I knew 2 people back in college that I still had on my LinkedIn and was certain they would tell the truth, so we were good there. The lawyer told me to just request a meeting with HR and my supervisor. Say there was a past with Krista, there was never any charges or disciplinary action, and I have 2 witnesses if they ever need verification. So that was what I did. Friday morning, I came into the office and sent HR and my supervisor an email requesting a formal meeting at 10 a.m. My supervisor came to my desk and asked if everything was okay, and wanted to make sure I was happy. I told him everything was fine, I wasn't leaving, and it wasn't anything with him or the team. He seemed relieved, and by 10 a.m. we rolled into the conference room with the HR officer. I thanked them both for taking time out of their day to meet me, and then I did as my lawyer instructed. I said that the new project manager, Krista, was someone I went to college with. She participated in harassment of me in college. I detailed how I never had any charges or disciplinary action, and that I had 2 independent witnesses that saw the harassment and gave their contact information. My supervisor seemed shocked, and the HR officer went through the info I gave her for a minute, and then the 2 of them talked for a minute. Finally, Krista was called in. When Krista walked into the conference room and saw me, HR, and the team supervisor, she seemed shocked. HR started with something like, "We have been told you 2 have a past." Krista sat down and looked pretty shocked throughout. She did admit to the bullying, but tried to reframe it as a misunderstanding repeatedly. She never outright said what the bullying was, but then she was told that since this was an incident in both our pasts that nobody once brought up again, that it should stay dead. HR made it clear that this is not to be a funny water cooler story to share. Krista and I both agreed to that, but Krista still looked shaken. Noon was coming up right when the meeting was wrapping up. My supervisor and HR again reiterated neither of us is to breathe a word about the college incident. We are professionals and we're here to do a job. So I went to the break room for lunch, and actually I felt like my appetite was finally returning. The last few days were stress-starving me, to be honest. I sat at a table with the rest of the development team and we started eating. Halfway through my sandwich, another coworker, Sandy, 30 female, came by and said, "So, I heard an interesting story yesterday about you and Krista," with a big grin on her face. She didn't get further because my supervisor was at our table, stood up, pointed at Sandy and across the room at Krista and said, "You two, conference room, now!" I wasn't privy to what happened in the conference room, but I did see the HR officer go into the room 2 minutes later, looking pretty pissed and with a mustard stain on her shirt. I guess she got the call and was interrupted during lunch. Not sure what went on. The rest of my team asked what that was. I said, I have no idea, and just kept eating. 5 minutes later, 2 more co-workers on other parts of the project were brought into the conference room. Lunch ended and we went back to work, but speculation was high. It wasn't until 3 that the conference room finally emptied. Krista looked like she was crying, and the others that were in the room with her seemed to treat her quite coldly. Not sure what this will mean, but it appears for now that Krista is still working here, but I appreciate the lengths HR and my supervisor are taking to ensure this won't blow up any further. Well, OP, I think this is a happy update. You did get ahead of it, and Krista was already starting to share the story from her perspective, so it's a good thing that you've done. It's also awesome that your supervisor had your back the entire time and HR took it seriously. That HR person from the comments before, yeah, totally wrong. And I guess Krista learned that she needs to keep her mouth shut regarding you from now on. So all in all, again, OP, happy update. Thanks so much for sharing, and take care. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user LilRed9967. Am I the a-hole for not putting my mother-in-law's maiden name in my child's name? My fiancé, 24 male, and I, 24 female, are expecting our first child in December of this year. We don't know the gender yet, so we're picking names for both a boy and a girl. We've fallen in love with names already. My fiancé has his father's last name, and that name is on his birth certificate, while his mother has a completely different last name. She has been hell-bent on getting us to make the last name of our child her maiden name, which neither of us have. So, in my head, it just doesn't make sense. She has been very manipulative in the past with various things, to the point where we have given in to just get her to leave us alone about things. This time around, she proceeded to guilt trip us on why we won't give the child her last name. She proceeded to throw the "I raised you and he didn't" card, and even said she was going to go to the court to change my fiancé's last name, which I found hilarious seeing he's a grown adult. Now, mind you, mother-in-law has 4 sons, 2 of which have her maiden name as their last name, and all 4 children have potential to have children of their own in the future. I'm trying to convince my fiancé to not give in to even hyphenating her last name and keeping it just his current last name to help set early boundaries on raising this child. But mother-in-law has it so deep in his mind that he has to please her and that she's entitled to make these decisions because she raised him. Not to mention, she had demanded to be at my gender ultrasound instead of waiting for the reveal we have planned at our baby shower. I told my mother-in-law and fiancé my child will not have my mother-in-law's last name, and it seems disrespectful to make me change my child's last name because of entitlement. So, I'm just curious if I'm the a-hole because I want our child to have his or her father's last name and not their grandmother's. Well, OP, of course, clearly you are not the a-hole, and your mother-in-law has some serious, I don't know if narcissistic tendencies or something, but it's all about her. And the truth is that this is your and your fiance's child, so it's a decision you both get to make together. And it just requires one no and two yeses. So if I was in your shoes, I would sit down with your fiance and just make it clear to him that the name is something that you both need to agree on together. That this is both of your child and your mother-in-law doesn't get a say, and he should actually stand up for you and the child as a family unit. That might be a little bit more difficult depending on how big the grasp mother-in-law has, but this is a good place to start. And then tell mother-in-law that if she keeps her yapping, she's gonna get banned and no contact. And what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments section, and now let's check out the community comments. Northern225 says, not the a-hole. Why would you give your child a different last name than you have? His mother had the choice with your partner and she gave him his father's last name. It's not your job to fix that decision which she regrets. And by the way, I wouldn't give in for no other reason than if you bend on this, you'll be setting a precedent and will never be able to make any decisions for your own child going forward without a war. Setting a boundary now will be a lot less painful, but you and your partner need to get on the same page. And OP responds, I agree 100% because one of my biggest worries is her trying to gain control of how we raise our child. This is our first kid, and I'm honestly nervous that I don't know what I'm doing at all. Mom AD12 says, not the a-hole. Start setting boundaries now or it will be worse when baby is here. Make it clear that this is yours and your husband's child, not hers, so only the two of you have a say in the naming. Trust me, you want to have the same last name as your child, do not give in to her. I grew up with a different variation of my parents' last name and I hated it. In school, my teachers always assumed that my parents were divorced or that they were just my guardians. Some mothers-in-law are just so entitled and meddling. My own mother-in-law went as far as to ask that my daughter be named after her. My husband and I would just make jokes every time she brought it up. We should have just given her a hard no because she was shocked when we announced her name, but her shock is her problem, not mine. And OP responds, I also grew up with a different last name than my mother, father, and siblings. It was a constant repetition every year at school on, why is your last name different? Does your grandma have rights over you? Etc, etc. And I don't want that for my child whatsoever. And Trick Delivery 4609 says, not the a-hole. Here are some prompts for you to say. 1. Only choices are your last name or mine. If you don't make the choice, I will choose it. It will never be mother-in-law's last name. 2. Your mom is stressing me out. She is banned from all doctor appointments and from the delivery room. You will be blocked too if you don't make it clear to her. And 3. If you don't start to set better boundaries with your mom, I think we need to reevaluate our relationship and what it looks like going forward. Therapy may be helpful, but you can't change someone. They have to want to change. Good luck, OP. Additional information from OP's comments. Mother-in-law is a manipulating person and she is very entitled to things. Her main reasoning for wanting her maiden name as my child's last name is because my fiance's father was absent most of his life and abusive when he was present in it, and using his name is disrespectful to her. That seems to be the main reason she is upset. So the community agrees that OP is not the a-hole and that she and her fiance need to establish stronger boundaries with mother-in-law. And OP also gave us an explanation as to why she thinks mother-in-law is upset about the last name. So now let's move on to the update and final update to see how this story ends. My fiance and I have talked and we have agreed to give the baby his last name as I will be marrying him and taking the last name anyway. Boundaries will be heavily set with mother-in-law and appointments will be kept private between the two of us. I thank all of you who have validated my feelings and who have given advice, as this all has helped make us realize and make him realize that this is a creepy power control thing on our end. We only want the best for our baby and we need to lay the law now or it will never happen. OP's final update. My significant other has talked to his mother and made it clear to her that the name will be what we wanted, not what she wants. She has seemed to let go of the subject as of right now, but is still a bit upset about it. She hasn't answered his most recent text message regarding his reasoning, so it's unsure how much of it she has let go or come to terms with. As for the 20-week ultrasound, I am having my OBGYN write a statement saying that only me and the father of the baby are welcomed into the appointment at the time to avoid immediate conflict. After that, steps will be in place to avoid letting anyone in any of my appointments aside from my significant other. Thank you again for all your advice. Alright OP, well this seems like a happy update to me. Your fiance was able to stand up for you and you guys agreed on something, and that's what's going to be enforced. So here's wishing you and your significant other the best in the future. Thanks for sharing OP and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.